All right, have and have not fans, this is a video, and again, I look at my comment section and there's plenty more videos for me to get to, but this one stood out above the rest. It's about my thoughts on how Candace Young will find out that her son Quincy Jr. was shot and killed. Now, it seems that everybody and their mother on the show knows about Quincy Jr.'s death except for Candace. I think the most obvious way of her finding out about her son's death is that she turns on her damn phone and looks at the call she's gotten from, if I'm not mistaken, Candace and Benny, because those two have been trying to reach out to her, but nobody, she's had her phone cut off, so she doesn't get any answers. Well, excuse me, she doesn't have her phone on to receive those calls. She's probably going to see a bunch of missed calls from those two and then, ask what's going on. The biggest question to me is, in this one scene right here in the video, showing that, Candace and Erica are at a table at a restaurant and then Warlock's going to show up. The question is, does Candace know about her son's death before or after this scene? That's definitely going to tell the tale. Will she find out from Erica, and Warlock when he shows up? Will Warlock show up as like, well, I was looking for you at the hotel and your son got caught in the crossfire? Will that be the way she finds out? Will it be when she turns her phone on and then realizes she's gotten all these calls from Jeffrey and Benny? Well, Benny, he can't make any calls because he's currently at the police department. Jeffrey might be the only one to pick up his phone because he seems to be the only one in the area with, cell reception. I think Veronica even said that the hospital doesn't have good reception, but at the same time, Jeffrey and David were able to make a few phone calls. So I don't know, maybe Veronica was just stretching the truth as usual. Now, looking at the circumstances here, well, actually looking back, didn't Benny call Catherine on Hannah's phone and get good reception? So yeah, just saying. We know that she's eventually going to find out based off the scene at the funeral home where Hannah's just looking at Candace when she goes off. So I've even done a video before in terms of my details on why I think that's going to be one of the most powerful scenes, because how Hannah reacted to it and it looks like she's finally calmed down, and then to see the girl who started it all start to show her own emotions towards it, that's going to be one hell of a scene. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, if Hannah's reaction to the death at the hospital was powerful, I think this scene where she's going to be calm, oh my, I feel like a storm's coming, y'all. A storm is coming. So maybe I'll put a poll on the side in terms of like let me know your thoughts. But I really think there are only a couple good ways she can find out. I think to hear about the news from Jeffrey, I think that'll be the best way in my opinion, because it's hard for me to even call those two friends, because Candace clearly cares about herself more than anybody else, where Jeffrey actually helped her out a few times, well, many times before, but in the long run, Candace is all about, oh man, it's like, I want to help you, Jeffrey, but it's almost like the whole analogy of somebody like, well, I'm going to be with you through thick and thin, but when things get too thick, I'm out of here. That's pretty much Candace in a nutshell, because she is too worried about herself. I don't think she fully trusts Jeffrey. That's what I think, because she knows his weaknesses in terms of, how he'll succumb to his mother if the blackmail is strong enough. So I can kind of understand that. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure Jeffrey has been out on a limb for Candace, while Candace won't even let go of the trunk of the tree. That's how I feel about those two. I mean, yeah, Benny could tell in the news, but I feel that, honestly, I feel like Jeffrey might be the one to, tell her the details, and then she's going to call Benny, find out, the funeral home and whatnot, then rush over. But remember, we need to back things up now. There is a scene in the preview where it looks like she goes to the motel where they were staying. She goes through the yellow caution tape and then sits on the bed is crying. So it seems that she finds out before Mitch goes to get the video game. That's my guess. So maybe, just maybe, she finds out from Mitch, because those two were apparently close back in the day. So it's hard to tell where those two are going to, where Candace is going to find out the news from. We just know for a fact that she eventually learns about the death and then goes, or I might be out on a limb here. Maybe she goes back to the motel after she gets outed by Charles for blackmailing him, and she has no place to go. Remember, Oscar's done with her because, she blackmailed Charles, and now she's damaged goods. For all we know, the next time Candace leaves the room, Oscar might, tell the hotel, hey, shut the room down, I'm done paying for it. And then Candace is out on her own. She has no choice but to go back to the motel that Hannah, Benny, and her son were staying at. And when she goes in, she sees the caution tape and then discovers that, oh snap, something happened here. And then maybe, just maybe, maybe it's a self-discovery thing. Honestly, I don't think that's a bad idea. Like, you know, she feels like, you know, oh my gosh, my tricks and everything didn't work, so now I gotta crawl back to my family. Look at the situation after the Malones the Malones abducted her. Jim had everything removed from Amanda and Candace's apartment. Then Candace goes back to the apartment, finds out Quincy's on the loose and knows where she lives at, decides to go back to well, actually, she stops by Hannah's house, and then Benny makes her stay. So really, when she has nothing left and her brother makes her stay there, Candace has no choice but to go back to her family. I feel like this is the same situation where she loses everything at the hotel with Oscar and Charles, has no choice but to go back to the motel, and maybe herself discovers that something went wrong. Maybe she is stupid in terms of, well, she's not stupid, but she's ignorant. But her being Candace, she might put two and two together and then figure out what happened. I don't know. Maybe she's going back to the motel and Erica tells her like, hey, I wouldn't go back there if I were you, and then she goes anyway. And I don't know. So honestly, I can't think of a full theory about how. I feel like the most obvious answers is her cutting her phone back on and then discovering all these calls. Then she's going to learn. I'm guessing, if I were to guess, I feel like Jeffrey would be the number one to tell her. Erica number two, Benny number three, just because he's incarcerated right now, so we don't know if he's going to have any access to a phone. Because I feel like when things blow up with Charles, she's eventually going to open her phone again because she has no choice, and because of that, she's going to discover what went down and go over to the motel, cry, and then go to the funeral home eventually. So that's personally how I think things will play out. Not a full-fledged theory, but just piecing together what we have. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you think, and who do you think will tell Candace about Quincy Jr.'s death? How do you think she's going to react? And I can't wait to see the showdown with Hannah.